Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we talk about problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with a video.
When I married my wife 2 years ago, I never thought I would be in a place where we were having marital problems. We haven't been happy for the past year. We were always fighting each other. One person was doing something that the other person didn't like, and vice versa. I feel terrible because my son was sometimes around when we argued. A few times, he has to come in to ask us to stop fighting because he loves us. That honestly broke my heart. I promised myself that no matter what argument we were having, I would try to be as quiet as possible so that my son wouldn't hear. Still, sometimes it got way out of hand, and in the heat of the moment, I didn't remember. I didn't want to cause him any emotional damage, but I think that the damages have already been done, so it's just to control it. I'm opting to get a divorce because my relationship with my wife is no longer conducive. It is toxic, and I just can't deal with it. My wife started to cheat on me 2 years ago, and she was open about it. That was the beginning of all the issues we were having. She no longer wanted to be married because she wanted to explore. She complained that she got married too soon and it wasn't what she wanted anymore. I love her too much, and I thought she would change and see that what she was saying didn't make any sense. Every day, when she came home, I hoped she had turned a new leaf. I thought that she would realize that my love was enough for her, but I was disappointed repeatedly. This time, I decided to do what is best for me. Getting a divorce wouldn't be the easiest thing for my son, but we both would be better for it. I got a lawyer and gave my wife the papers, the divorce papers, to sign, but it didn't seem like that's what she wanted. She acted like I had done the worst. She refused to sign the papers and started to cry about how I didn't love her anymore. I was confused because, as far as I was concerned, for the past 2 years, she had been cheating on me and was open about it. So why couldn't we get a divorce? Why does she want to still stay married to me? Whatever her reason is her business. She has hurt me too much for me to care about that now. I wanted to start afresh. I don't know if I'm ever going to marry again, but I just wanted out of the relationship with my wife. Maybe then I would see clearer and see the world differently. I told my son that his mom and I were getting a divorce, and I explained to him that we were going to separate and no longer be husband and wife. He had witnessed the fights, so it wasn't safe for us to keep being together. I told him that he would still see his mom and me, but we wouldn't be living together in the same house anymore. He understood and asked to use my phone to surf the net. A few days later, he came to me and he was frantic. He demanded that I didn't divorce his mom, and nothing I said to him was enough. I didn't understand where that was coming from because he seemed okay with it before. I wasn't going to lie to him to make him feel better, so I consoled him, but maintained my ground. He burst into tears and would not hear me out. He said, "Please do not divorce Mommy. Do not divorce her." My son was 10 years old. Though he was young, he was also very composed, so I was surprised at his outburst and behavior. He was usually more put together no matter what was going on. I knew that something was off, but I wasn't sure how to find the issue. At first, I thought he was just getting anxious about the divorce, which was expected. That would have been normal behavior of a son, knowing that his mom and dad were not going to be together anymore. However, it kept getting worse. He said he didn't want to lose me. He seemed to be under some sort of pressure. What he said about losing me caught my attention, so I asked him to explain why he thought that would happen. But I didn't get much from him. My son was getting more unhappy as the days went by. He used to be cheerful and playful. He was still this way days after I first told him about the divorce. You couldn't take away his video games no matter how sad he was. In fact, because he was sad, he would go to play it to get his mind off something. This time, he wasn't playing, joking, or speaking much. Now I was getting really worried. I thought that the only way to find out was to ask him what his fears were and what he really thought about the separation. I spoke to him one day after I went to pick him up from school and asked why he was unhappy and withdrawn. I assured him that even though his mom and I were getting divorced, we would still be there for him. We will still love him and cater to him as parents, and our separation just meant that we were no longer going to live in the same house. He disagreed with everything I said. He thought that I would get married to somebody else and he would suffer for the rest of his life, and my new wife was going to take me away from him. It was disturbing because I wondered where he got all those ideas from. Getting married was not something I saw happening in the next 3 to 4 years, so I was curious to know how he came up with that. I probed further and found out that his mom had been filling his head with a lot of nonsense. She was deliberately scaring him so that he would tell me not to get divorced. His mom told him that I was going to remarry. She also said that I would be so happy with my new family that I would forget all about him and that he would not be able to see his mom or me anymore. She literally told him things to scare him to death, all just to manipulate me so I would stop with a divorce. I couldn't believe that she would risk our son's mental health for selfish reasons. It made me want to be divorced even more. She knew that I did whatever my son wanted because he was my everything. So she tried to use that against me. I love my son with all my heart, and I would do right by him by making sure that his mom could not manipulate him anymore. I spoke to my wife about it, and she denied everything, which I suspected she was going to do. She said that I couldn't possibly be accusing her of using her son to manipulate and control me. I had given her 2 years to change, so there was nothing she could do to make me give her a second chance. She wanted the perks of being married, but still wanted to have the freedom of being unmarried. Sadly, she didn't know that that was not how life worked. What she tried to do by using my son was too low, even for her. She would have to sign the papers whether she liked it or not. I took time to explain to my son. I made him understand that when his mom and I got divorced, one of us would have custody, and the other person would come to visit him from time to time. I promised him that I wouldn't leave him because I loved him too much, and doing that would hurt me so much as it would hurt him. I told him that I wasn't sure I would remarry, but I would make sure he loved her, even if I did. My wife finally agreed to sign the papers, and we went on with the divorce. I still love her, but I cannot deal with everything she has put me through. My love was not enough, and I would have to come to terms with that. NTA, your wife has some nerve. She didn't want to sign the papers. She must have seen the divorce coming from the way she behaved. She was just being selfish. NTA, how can your wife try to use your son, who has already been through so much drama? No good mother does that. YTA, I think it's good parenting to be as open as you are to your son. Plus, you guys already caused enough damage by allowing him to hear your fights and everything that happened in your house. You are lying to yourself that you care about your son's mental health.
Next story.
I, 21, female, was babysitting my nephew, 5, male, on Friday night going into Saturday for my sister, 26, female, and her boyfriend, 27, so they could have a night together. He's my little pal and a total sweetheart, so it's always my pleasure to watch him. I ended up making him his favorite dinner, which I'm sure will surprise none of you based on his age. I made chips, chicken nuggets, and plenty of ketchup. While we were eating dinner together while watching Encanto, a thing he loves doing whenever I watch him, as my sister never lets him watch stuff while eating, perks of being the cool aunt, I get to break the rules a little, he told me how it was weird how his favorite food was named after an animal and how he liked chickens, but they weren't his favorite, so they should really be named dolphin nuggets, as he likes dolphins more. I won't lie, I was a little confused at this and said without thinking, well, they're called chicken nuggets because they're made of chickens. It never occurred to me that he wouldn't know they were made of the animal they were named after. At his age, he is more than old enough to know that some animals are eaten. He was clearly in the dark about this and made me clarify several times that yes, chicken nuggets were made out of chickens. This led to so much confusion on his part, but after questioning why chickens are eaten, he let it go and finished his dinner, albeit with less relish. I know some of you will ask, no, I didn't go into detail about chicken slaughter or how food is processed, etc., as that is daunting even for some adults, especially in regards to the big bulk bags of chicken nuggets you get in the freezer section. The next day, when my sister and her boyfriend picked up their kid, I told them about the exchange, more confused than anything, saying how he didn't seem to know chicken nuggets were made out of actual chicken. When I explained the exchange we'd had, my sister was pissed at me, telling me I had no right to try and educate her son about things and upset him when he's just a little kid and doesn't need to worry about that sort of thing. I explained it hadn't been me trying to educate him, but honestly, just a slip up as I was confused, as at his age, he should know this sort of thing. She disagreed strongly about this, and at this point, her boyfriend added that they weren't teaching him about food and what animals it comes from until he's older. As for now, it's best he just eats without worrying about the fact that whatever is on his plate was once alive. They then told me if I intend to do this sort of thing again, they won't ask me to babysit again. I won't lie, I was upset by this, but agreed as he is their kid. But I don't think I was in the wrong to tell him. I also don't think they're doing him any favors by keeping him in the dark like this. Am I the a-hole? NTA, my 3-year-old niece wants to be a vegetarian because for an entire month she was a triceratops, and triceratops eat grass. Anyway, now she's a penguin, and she knows that Nemo is on the menu. Smart girl. They are raising their child wrong by protecting him from harmless facts. I know a girl who didn't know that shrimps, when fresh, aren't orange. She discovered that shrimps are kind of gray when she worked on research at the age of 22. NTA. That seems to be a weird thing for her to have a problem with. How would you have known he didn't know something like that, or that it would be some banned point of discussion? I feel that these people are going to be the oddly overprotective helicopter parents. So you might want to be a nice aunt and opening up a small savings account so you can help pay for some of the therapy he'll need when he turns 18.
Next story.
I, female, 28, had back-to-back pregnancies in 2020 and 2021 and was going through a rough time due to losing my employment during the pandemic. The majority of 2021, I was homeless, living in my minivan or a motel. I was also fighting DCS for my other 2 children, a 3-year-old girl and a 1-year-old boy, that were placed in foster care due to me being homeless. So I asked my boyfriend's cousin, 38 female, if she would be willing to take care of my newborn so he would not be placed in the system as well. She agreed, and she now has legal guardianship of him, but I still retain my parental rights. But things have drastically improved for me in the last few months. I now have a rental home with my boyfriend, and my other kids are coming home next month. But here's the thing. The cousin is planning on moving to live what she calls the van life. She does not have a van or a plan. The cousin also takes care of my boyfriend's elderly grandma, and she physically can't get out of bed and do anything herself, including using the bathroom. The cousin plans on taking the grandma with her too, which on its own is a terrible idea. Where did she get this crazy idea from? Grandma woke up one morning saying God showed her the way to the promised land. Apparently, the promised land is in a national park in southern Indiana. Who knew? But here's my issue. I don't want my baby living in a tent for the foreseeable future. It defeats the purpose of the guardianship. Plus, it would be a 2-hour drive from where I currently live, and I don't have a car. The cousin said she can drive my baby up to see me once a month for a day or 2, but I don't feel like it's enough time. So today I filed a petition to terminate the guardianship, and I am waiting on a court date. The boyfriend thinks I'm an a-hole because the cousin can't have children and she's bonded with my son. So am I the a-hole for trying to get my son back? So I wanted to clear some things up. My boyfriend was working the entire time we were homeless, but due to the eviction ban, the few rental homes in our area were completely occupied until we found the home we're in now. So, because of that, we have a decent savings account. I have access to all the accounts, and I have my own account that he deposits money into for me to have an emergency fund. We have been in our home for about 5 months now, but DCS wanted us to maintain our living situation for 6 months before the kids came home. As for us having kids, we can't take care of, we definitely can. Our monthly income is about $4,000 a month, and we live in a very low cost of living area, so even after bills and living expenses, we still have almost half of the money left to save. Also, even though our kids are placed with DCS, we have provided them with everything that they need just as though they were here with us. Every month, I send new clothes, shoes, diapers, toys, hygiene products, and a gift card for groceries and other miscellaneous stuff. I have the case manager notify me if they are in need or want anything else on top of that. So taking care of them financially has never been an issue. As for how we became homeless, I lost my job and at the same time were being evicted because our landlord wanted to sell the house. My boyfriend had just started working at his job, so he did not have enough pay stubs at the time to be able to get a lease. But there was also a rental shortage at that time. And since my reproductive health is Reddit's business, I know there are non latex condoms. We made a mistake getting pregnant at such a bad time, but I love my son and I'm glad he's here. My other two kids were planned because our situation was very different. No one could have predicted how this pandemic caused a domino effect that ruined my life for the last year. I'm not going to stop living my life because of things out of my control. That doesn't make me a bad mom. NTA, it sounds like your plan was always for this guardianship to be temporary until you're back on your feet and you are on that path. However, it gives me a lot of concern for you that your boyfriend is against this and that his plan was for the cousin to adopt this child. You shouldn't have children in a home where they are not wanted. I wish you the best, but please be sure to seek advice beyond Reddit. NTA, you had to give up guardianship due to life circumstances, and frankly, I see very little margin between van life and homelessness. No promises of basic sanitation, hygiene, just off on a wild goose chase cooked up from Granny's dream. I also doubt the promise that she's going to drive 4 hours round trip every other day or so. With all of this instability, as you are now in a position to provide a home and solid family life, terminating guardianship is the right thing to do. Oh, and to your boyfriend, babies aren't like puppies where you let people just take them because they bonded. Even fostering pets usually means a permanent placement in a well-chosen home. Cousin may absolutely love your children, but not being able to bear children isn't a reason to keep someone else's just because they were in